Have you ever felt like no matter how much wisdom you share, no matter how much you try to help, people don't respect your words? They ignore your advice, dismiss your experience, or even try to take advantage of your kindness. It's frustrating, isn't it? You've spent decades gathering wisdom, yet the moment you speak, others either push back or pretend they know better. But what if I told you that the key to true power in old age is not always proving your intelligence, but sometimes pretending to be stupid? You've learned so much from life. Younger generations cannot even begin to comprehend the battles you have faced, the families you have raised, the jobs you have made, and the sacrifices you have endured. However, there are instances in which displaying all of that information is more detrimental than beneficial. In some situations, remaining silent has greater power than speaking. Acting ignorant can shield you, and pretending to be ignorant can really work to your advantage. Because, let's face it, many assume that elderly folks are easily manipulated, feeble, and forgetful. They don't anticipate that you will take advantage of that. It has nothing to do with being genuinely uninformed. It all comes down to knowing when to play the game, when to back off, and when to allow others to undervalue you. This is strategy, not deceit. Because being naive can protect you from needless conflicts in a world where individuals take advantage of those they consider to be easy prey. Furthermore, you are aware that not all battles are worthwhile if you have lived long enough. Consider a scenario in which a neighbor borrows money from you on a regular basis, promising to repay it but never doing so. They offer justifications when you gently remind them. They become defensive when you bring it up again. The relationship gets more strained the more you push. Instead, imagine smiling and nodding as if you had completely forgotten about it. Then, when they asked again, you would just laugh and say, "Oh dear, my memory isn't what it used to be. I wouldn't want to mix things up." You ought to ask a younger person. The load suddenly changes. When they see that they can no longer control or blame you, they retreat. Consider the dynamics of your family. Children or grandkids may believe that because you are older, you lack knowledge of technology, money, or even personal matters. They believe they can decide for you, tell you what's best, and dictate how you should live. They fight, urge, and press harder if you don't comply. However, what if you smile, nod, and give them the impression that they want? They will give more details and disclose more information if they think you don't understand, and eventually they might just divulge their genuine motivations. The world may be cruel, and growing older doesn't necessarily get you the respect you deserve. Therefore, one of your biggest strengths is being able to pretend that you don't know. Pretending to know nothing is the best course of action in 7 different situations in life. First, when someone is attempting to control you. Your resistance is what gives someone the ability to control you. They press harder the more you resist. However, their defenses are lowered if you allow them to believe they have already won. They quit making such an effort. At that point, you take back control. Secondly, when you are undervalued. Everyone in the room will talk freely if they think you don't comprehend what they're saying. They will disclose their intentions, strategies, and vulnerabilities, mainly because they think you're not listening. However, you are, and you have power because of that knowledge. Third, when steering clear of pointless disputes. Not every conflict is worthwhile. Some people are so firmly committed to their beliefs that no amount of reason can persuade them to change. Sometimes it's best to smile, nod, and let people believe what they want rather than pushing yourself too hard. You remain silent in the interim. Fourth, financial matters are important. People may try to coerce you into spending your savings, whether they be friends, family, or even complete strangers. They tell you to help them because you don't need much anymore. However, people will become disinterested if you pretend that you don't have as much as they believe. Fifth, while interacting with inquisitive individuals. Some people snoop about in your personal life for gossip, not because they are interested. Better yet, don't give too much away. They are stopped in their tracks by a simple statement like, "Oh, I can't remember," or "It's all so confusing to me." Sixth, while interacting with dishonest individuals. Not everyone is well-meaning. Some individuals pose as your friends in order to exploit you. However, if you give them the impression that you are not aware of their plans, you will be able to see them clearly and, when the moment is right, you will be able to leave without becoming entangled in their web. Seventh, when energy protection is necessary. Your time and energy are more valuable than ever as you become older. Not every disagreement, dispute, or request is worth your time and effort. You can relieve yourself of needless worry by pretending to be someone you don't know. This claim highlights the value of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and wisdom in negotiating interpersonal relationships. It highlights that overt displays of knowledge, loudness, or dominance are not always indicative of actual power. Rather, it frequently resides in observation, restraint, and calculated stillness. Knowing human nature and how to protect oneself, the statement, "This is not about dishonesty. It's about wisdom," draws attention to an important difference between discretion and deceit. While dishonesty entails purposeful lying, wisdom is about making wise decisions based on knowledge and experience. According to the statement, being aware of one's words, when to speak, and when to keep quiet is a self-preservation strategy rather than an act of dishonesty. Impulsive speech can frequently result in needless conflict, a loss of authority, or unforeseen consequences in life. By being aware of human nature, understanding people's motivations, fears, and inclinations, one can more skillfully negotiate social and professional settings. Not every circumstance calls for verbal interaction, and not everyone deserves complete transparency. The advantage of quietness over noisiness, the loudest person in the room isn't always the most powerful. The assumption that the person who speaks the most or displays their knowledge is in charge is one that society frequently connects with dominance. True power, however, is frequently held by those who pay attention, and carefully choose their words. Being silent can be a calculated tactic. Instead of reacting emotionally, it enables one to collect data, evaluate dynamics, and respond intelligently. A person who doesn't speak up when it matters most can gain more respect and power than someone who is always trying to display their knowledge or establish their dominance. Being silent is a sign of strength. In many facets of life, it can be wise to know when to be quiet. In debate, silence can reduce tension and change the balance of power, but emotional reactions can intensify conflict. A well-placed pause can cause the other person to change their mind or divulge more information than they had planned. Silence can be used as a negotiating tactic in professional settings, causing others to feel pressured to make concessions or proposals. People tend to think that someone who listens more than they talk is smarter and more powerful. Not all ideas must be voiced in interpersonal relationships. Silence can sometimes make room for understanding and avoid needless harm or miscommunications. When making decisions, it is possible to effectively appraise conditions before acting by speaking less and observing more. Final thoughts. The essence of this statement is that power is not about outward force or the need to prove oneself. It is about control of one's words, reactions, and presence. A truly powerful person is one who understands when silence speaks louder than words and uses it as a tool for influence, protection, and wisdom. There will always be people in life who challenge you, people who push your buttons, test your patience, and try to shake your confidence. Some do it intentionally, seeking to provoke a reaction or assert dominance, while others may do it unknowingly, acting out of ignorance or insecurity. And as you grow older, this can become even more pronounced. Society often underestimates the elderly, equating age with weakness, assuming that those who have lived longer are somehow less capable, less sharp, or less resilient. But that assumption is far from the truth. You are not weak. You are experienced. Every wrinkle, every scar, every lesson learned over the years has made you stronger, not weaker. You have faced trials, overcome obstacles, and endured hardships that younger generations have yet to encounter. You have seen the world change, adapted to new realities, and navigated through life's storms with resilience and grace. Your strength is not measured in how loudly you respond to provocation, nor in how aggressively you prove yourself to others. It is measured in the depth of your wisdom, in the quiet confidence you carry, and in your ability to discern what truly matters. Wisdom is not about having all the answers or constantly proving your knowledge. True intelligence lies in knowing when to speak and when to listen. Sometimes, the most powerful response is silence, a silence that commands respect, that allows space for reflection, that forces others to reconsider their own words and actions. Other times, speaking up is necessary not to argue, but to assert your truth, to educate, or to set firm boundaries. Knowing the difference between the two is what sets the wise apart from the impulsive. Similarly, intelligence is about understanding when to act and when to let things unfold naturally. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every situation requires immediate intervention. There are moments when stepping forward is necessary, when taking control can change the course of events for the better. But there are also moments when patience is the greater strength, when letting life take its course leads to a better outcome than forcing a resolution. With experience comes the understanding that not everything needs to be fixed immediately, and sometimes the best course of action is to allow time to do its work. And then, there is the question of when to fight and when to walk away. In youth, there is often a tendency to fight every battle, to defend one's pride at all costs, to refuse to back down for fear of appearing weak. But as you age, you learn that strength is not in endless confrontation, it is in knowing which battles truly matter. Some fights are worth the effort, the ones that align with your values, protect those you love, or uphold your dignity. But there are also fights that drain you, that lead nowhere, that steal your peace. Knowing when to walk away is not cowardice, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that your energy is valuable and should not be wasted on those who do not deserve it. So when people challenge you, when they test your patience, when they assume that age has made you weak, remember this: your power lies in your experience, in your discernment, and in your ability to choose your responses wisely. You are not here to prove yourself to anyone. You are here to live with strength, with wisdom, and with the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from truly understanding life. So, the next time someone tries to pull you into a battle you don't need, let them think what they want. Smile, nod, watch. And when the time comes, you will be the one who truly holds the power.